It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Well, we are back on your Feel Good Breakfast show. Yes, the man, JP Sebastian, he is here, and we've got a movie review for you. And this one is called Hypnotic.
I just want to fill the audience in on some of the behind-the-scenes kind of stuff. Zoe sits in a director's chair this morning because she has to shout at Ryle, "Ryle, don't move back, there's a camera behind you."
And what does Ryle do? He moves back. But anyway.
You're corralling Ryle. Maybe you have a future in directing yourself. Yeah. So Hypnotic is what we're talking about. It's releasing today. And you've just been saying now, Ben Affleck's obviously been pretty busy.
He's been super busy. I mean, starring in this film not too long ago, we were looking at the movie Air that he directed and also played in.
Yeah. Year before that, there was one called The Last Duel, which is really harrowing. So
he got married in between. Like, the man's been busy.
He was also in a viral video that I laughed at, but you'll find it yourself.
From the Grammys or the Oscars?
No, not even. Just him looking fed up. Another story, another day. Hypnotic is also directed by another big name, and you recognize Robert Rodriguez, at least from the repertoire.
Yes.
Have you dipped into any of those movies?
I mean, just looking at them, all of them are so popular.
Oh, yeah. So Robert Rodriguez, the director of Hypnotic, has also done Desperado. The first one that he did, by the way, 1992, El Mariachi, is a jewel. It's like cheap, it's low budget, but it does the job. It like packs the punch it needs, etc., etc. So, oh, by the way, tell you what, let's hear from the people themselves. I'm just talking myself out here. Ben Affleck and Robert Rodriguez talking about Hypnotic out today in South Africa.
Are you familiar with the concept of hypnotics?
Hypnotics.
Hypnotics will make you see a version of the world that doesn't exist.
I started writing this in 2002. I'm super happy to finally get this movie made. It's like some distant dream.
What made me want to do the movie was Robert. I've always wanted to work with him. I've always been inspired by him.
I wanted to join him on this journey more than anything. Ready to go?
It's a little bit of a bucket list thing for me. So when this opportunity came up, there was no hesitation whatsoever. I'm going to Austin, Texas.
Yeah, I'm working in Austin, Texas again, in my own Troublemaker Studios.
It's like getting the golden ticket to go to the Willy Wonka factory.
You feel Robert in his element.
He's got all this great stuff to play with, this backlot of his own, and it's like a filmmaker's fantasy.
You don't know who you're dealing with.
Why me? It's really fun to work with somebody who you both admire and look up to and who's really inclusive in his process.
He knows exactly what he wants, and because of that, he knows how to guide you through. And I think that's why it's so special.
A filmmaker that has that sort of enthusiasm, if that's not infectious, I don't know what is.
It's been incredible being in the crazy, magical, mystical world of Mr. Rodriguez.
Bring an audience into a dark room and you try to hypnotize them. And this takes that and goes all the way with it, slams on the gas.
What you're seeing isn't real!
Well, out in cinemas, Hypnotic, JP Sebastian is here. It's getting out. It's out today.
Yes,
from
ma'am.
today.
Yeah. One of the faces there you recognize, and I had to admit, no one here knows the name behind the face. William Fichtner is.
Fichtner, and he was in Prison Break.
I'll take your word for it. I'm not the TV guy. I'm the movies guy. Although Prison Break is good. I'll give you
doesn't
that.
movies play out on TV? But anyway.
Very deep questions this morning. So he's like one of these actors who's a bit of a specialist. You know that when he's in a movie, it's going to be good. Like, sadly, they put next to his name in the press notes, the credits that, oh, he was in Batman, The Dark Knight, the one with Heath Ledger, and he's only got 5 minutes in that, but everyone goes, yeah, he's the guy from The Dark Knight. Anything he's in, really good. And in this, plays a similar role in a way. Funny enough, just mentioning, we were talking about The Accountant earlier, we'll get back onto that. He played a character called The Accountant in that movie with Nicolas Cage, ridiculous Hull Race? Death Race, I think it was called. No, anyway, it was a dumb movie, and it knew it was a dumb movie, but he was great in that. And so he's got this sort of persona, similarly here in Hypnotic, of almost this devilish, kind of strange, mysterious, almost seemingly demonic type character. Give you a bit about what I'm talking about in terms of a synopsis, who these people are, what the players are, etc., etc. Hypnotic. In this world, you have these people who refer to themselves as hypnotics. You might call them psychics.
Okay.
But they have this ability to use, I suppose, neuro-linguistic programming to give you certain verbal cues, certain bodily cues to just change your program in a second, that type of thing. And so Ben Affleck is a detective who, and we've seen this character plenty of times before. He's sitting in therapy, you know, he's boozing, he's sad because something tragic has...
He's looking for his daughter.
There you go, he's got a kidnapping that's going down. It feels like That case is not in fact related to the case that he's now chasing with William Fichtner, but suddenly these threads start to tie together, these loose ends start to come together, and he finds, wait, am I at the center of all this? Am I the one who's been drawn down the rabbit hole? Because a clue left at the bank heist relates to his kidnapped daughter, which at first they thought wasn't related.
I love it when separate stories in a movie all comes together.
Converge on a conspiracy. And so I think you'll really like this thing because it turns like 4 or 5 times that, oh, wait, what you thought was real isn't real. Oh, wait, that person who you thought was that wasn't that. It turns and twists as much as you like, and people really go in for that kind of thing, especially if you like. Got similarity to Inception, got similarity to Minority Report. I was just mentioning to cameraman Pete behind you guys right now. Minority Report was by Philip K. Dick. So similar, Philip K. Dick is Total Recall, which it feels like as well. Is reality what it seems? Are you the person you actually think you are? Are you programmed? And so it even brings in like the fake news sort of angle to it too. But he finds one of these hypnotics. She tries to guide him against the evil hypnotics. Is she a good hypnotic? You don't know.
We don't know. There's twist after twist.
The other important name, by the way, I didn't mention Philip K. Dick. How could I not mention Paycheck, which Ben Affleck was in before? You saw that one?
Yes, I did.
So he's got a taste for sci-fi. He's done this kind of thing before. If you love twists and turns, then maybe this will be your kind of thing. But tell you what, I'm going to get more into the meat and potatoes of a review of the evaluation of Hypnotic after a bit. I'm sure you have more Expresso to do. I didn't know if we're going to.
Well, we can tell you right now. It is Friday, JP. You know what we love to do on a Friday?
Oh, me sit. Usually.
No, we dance. Have to dance.
I dance seated. Is this a dance?
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
We've got about 20 minutes left of your feel-good breakfast show, and you're just in time. JP Sebastian, he's here. We're reviewing the movie Hypnotic, which is out from cinemas today. Now, earlier we had a brief overlook of the movie, but now we're going to get into the meaty part of it.
Yeah, the nuts and bolts of what the pros and cons are, possibly, or what it might feel similar to, etc., etc. Does it sound like the kind of thing that you might be into yourself?
I like movies that have
thrillers.
twists. I find it nothing worse than watching a movie and you can anticipate what's going to happen based on the music or the science or the
Don't leave me
predictability.
too much. Yeah, you said that you enjoyed The Accountant. I've not seen that one.
I did,
also
with Ben Affleck. So highly recommend you watching it. I've been enjoying Ben Affleck's movies lately.
Oh yeah, no, actually, yeah, he's a good guy. He seems to do the work. And similarly, in the way this movie has to do with a sort of heist, but similar to the way Inception's about mental heisting. So his experience from having directed The Town, which is also a very good movie you should watch, comes to play here. Bank heists, mind heists, etc., etc. But before JP goes on that rabbit hole of weird words that don't actually exist, let's have another look at the makers of the movie talking about the movie that's out today.
My favorite thing about the characters in this movie is that every time you think you understand them, you learn something new and they change. And so all of the characters are really fun that way. The actors are terrific, but I really love the change that my character makes in particular. I think it's really fun.
The one thing that always elevated Hitchcock's movies was casting. He always had people like Cary Grant, or Jimmy Stewart, or Grace Kelly, Ingrid Bergman, and really wanted to cast this up and get real superstars. And Ben Affleck plays Rourke and brings that sort of Hitchcock mystique to this role. He is the father looking for his daughter. He is the relentless cop. And he's got such star quality and presence that I really felt like I was filming a Hitchcock film.
The benefit of having directed movies is that when you work with somebody who's really sharp technically, you kind of know what they're looking for. You know what they're doing. You know what they want, and hopefully I know how to give it to them. And it's really lovely with Robert because he kind of treats me with the respect of, hey, you know what I'm doing and what I'm going for, and that shorthand, and so we can cut to the chase very fast. I appreciate and respect the speed with which he moves, as well as the precision and desire for excellence. And it's really interesting to me, and I've learned a lot because I've seen how you can both move really fast and do good work, and those things don't usually go hand in hand.
Hypnotics makes everything that you see and do feel perfectly normal.
Well, JP, I mean, this movie is out. Have you seen it?
I have, yes. That's why I'm
Did
here
you
today.
enjoy it?
So yeah, let's get into that. Actually, yes, I did. So one of my issues is that it's really a rush to get into itself. Usually movies really don't get to their point quick enough necessarily, but it feels like you enter Hypnotic in its second act. It's like, okay, cool, well, where's all this background to the guy? Of course, detective in a cliche way, like I said, swilling the whiskey, thinking about the past and all that kind of stuff. We know a lot of those tropes already, so we come armed, as it were, for Hypnotic. But I think it is, in a way, in a lot of a rush down the rabbit hole rather than spiraling. It's like nosediving down the rabbit hole because it wants to get to the meatier parts of its own conspiracies and the twist on the turn and the bluff on the bluff and that type of stuff. Speaking of the man at the front, Ben Affleck, it's kind of strange we haven't seen him in more roles like this. Obviously, in Gone Girl, he was a strange tightrope of, oh, shame, he's playing helpless in front of the character, but he's, you know, typical, I suppose, idea of what men might be in behind camera or whatever. But in this, yeah, like, do we have these latent things? And I suppose this is all about, like, what's really in your mind. It's what Hypnotic's about, so it's appropriate too. So there you heard Robert Rodriguez refer a lot to Hitchcockian sort of like man's man type things. And for a detective doing a noir type feel, you know, that brooding, you know, wondering where the case is taking him type thing, he's a great casting for that. And that's unsurprising. He's a two-time Oscar winner. I don't need to be evaluating Ben Affleck, but he does the job. Aside from that, William Fichtner as well, like we were just going on about, the actor who you now know the name of that guy. He's the specialist. Aside from Dark Knight, he was in Equilibrium as well. He was the freedom fighter in that. Please remember the name for the face as well, because he's so good. And in this, like I said, that weird, creepy, demonic kind of, you know, he's going to be like the stereotypical devil guy as far as movies go in future. I hope he gets more and more big roles. Alice Braga is a name I must mention. Shame. She had her start in City of God, Brazilian masterpiece. Do watch that as well. And here she plays the Hypnotic. Now, because this is so sort of like high concept and whatever, it can come off a bit corny in its way, but because of the actors and because of the chemistry they bring, it doesn't really fall apart. Like in the wrong hands, you know, it can...
It could have.
You know what I mean? It can be too janky. And janky is all what Robert Rodriguez is about. With respect, I say that. His movies feel very DIY in a way, very tactile, and a lot less of the gloss that we'd expect of Christopher Nolan. Now, some people might not like that. So yeah, my main reservations are it's way too fast for its own good. Sometimes it's highly predictable, but then there are times when you actually do move to the edge of your seat and you're like, yes, this could be an interesting conversation starter. It feels like you're going into the matrix of things. Feels like you're going into the Total Recall sort of side or whatever. But tell you what, you guys like scores, you like numbers, don't you?
We love popcorns.
So JP is going to give Hypnotic out today 6 out of 10. Which doesn't sound like much, but for one of these movies that I was just saying to sound engineer Chad early on, said that it's such a relief sometimes. It's such a breath of fresh air to go, there's a AAA actor, a 5-star actor, who's not trapped in a franchise. He's not in a Batman suit for the 4th time. He's doing a side thing for a director he likes, almost as a solid for a friend. And those kind of movies almost have a lot of heart, even if they feel 6 out of 10-ish. So, yeah,
But 6 out of 10 is very good in JP standards.
Yeah, and it's not bad for a
the
movie,
most
guys.
JP usually goes is 7, so that's actually technically a 9 out of 10.
It's knocking it out the park.
There we go. JP Sebastian, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for reviewing the movie Hypnotic, which is in cinemas from today, so do go and spoil yourself this weekend.
Spoil your mom.